Cool. Yeah. Um, so what's your comic about?
My comic is like a science fiction superhero with elements of horror story. 12 issues split in 3 arcs of 4, and the first 4 have already come out. And I'm working on the third book of the second arc now.
Oh, that's cool. Cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite like genre to do?
My favorite genre, I would say, again, exactly the genre that I'm doing for this story,
Yeah.
superhero and horror. Because I like, some violence, some good violence there, intensity, but also I like inner monologues, some more calm scenes, some blood here and there. It depends. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I have mostly superhero, but there's like a horror comic here and there and stuff because that's like one of my favorite like genres in movies is horror, and we just came out with a horror anthology, which
The Chronicles of Horror, right?
Yeah, and I did nothing besides publish it. But the second issue that's coming out next year, we're actually like figuring out Kickstarter guidelines and stuff for us, for like the people that are involved, because this last time was kind of there's a lot on this one guy that was part of the project. So yeah, I don't know if you've ever ran a Kickstarter, but it it's a lot of work, and yeah.
I haven't done this before, but when I'm going to do it, it will be with the help of the publisher who have run campaigns before on that platform. And with your permission, at some point, if you don't mind, I would like to talk a little more about the series and the publisher, just to, whenever I have the opportunity, I talk about a little both.
Yeah.
Right.
And for people that have like questions about like publishing or whatever on our platform, it's not really publishing, it's more like just us hosting the comic. That's going to be, I think, tomorrow. I have to look at the schedule.
I'm sure the people of the publisher, they host my book, they know more about it. I know a few things that from the what they have told me only, but I can share whatever I know.
We, like, when people ask, are you a publisher or whatever, and I'm just like, well, kind of, but we just host the people's comics and then we promote them basically for free. But we're gonna have like way more stuff on the website later. Next year is like a whole like promoting the platform. We kind of we're doing it at the end of this year, and our like this like event is wrapping up our like 2020, and hopefully next year is not as shitty as this year.
It is pretty challenging.
Because we're doing this thing in December called Disappear December, and that's what we did last year. So we did like disappear from social media. Like me personally, I'll still be on, but like I'm not going to be like posting anything like Seer Nova related all of December. So we have like our Black Friday event thing that's going on right now, and whatever else. If you have any Black Friday stuff going on, or
we do,
you can link that wherever, and yeah, I can post that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. Anything you got for sale or whatever. Yeah.
Man, how come you help so many creators? How do you manage all that?
I don't know. I actually wrote like a spreadsheet of like all of the creators that are on our. Now it's easier because it's on the side of our on the page on our website. It shows like everybody that's got comics on there, or almost everybody that has comics on there. Some people, they have an account as a creator, but they just don't have their comic up yet. And there's a girl that she's reformatting her comic, I think, and there's a few others that are just getting ready to do it. And I had a spreadsheet of all those names, and I was like, I like promote 40 something people and ourselves. So that's insane. So like when someone asks me to do one thing and I have to do like 39 other things, I'm like, oh, like just give me like 5 minutes.
Man, this virtual Comic Con, it looks like every hour you have one guest or on. It's like, how can you handle this?
Yeah, and then trying to find guests not even just for this, for like our podcast is it's insane. I like put out on Facebook, but sometimes Facebook like just doesn't show your stuff depending on the algorithm and stuff. So it's like, hey, did you see my post? No, all right, because like I'm asking for a guest or whatever on our podcast, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess nobody's going to answer that. Oh, you just didn't see it. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So, do you have like a little elevator pitch for your comic, or is it like?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying with this interview to become better at it, but let me say a little the books how they look like. So this was issue 1, came out in 2018. And but my work there is from 2015, most of it. So the point I mentioned this is with each book, there is more improvement that the reader can notice, more change in the style and all that. And here is the second one. And the title of the series is Stilk Metal Tim. And I know the first name here sounds weird, but I will tell how I got it. I will explain. That's the fourth one. This is the first arc. It's 12 issue series split in 3 arcs of 4 issues, and now I have produced the first 2 books, and I'm working on the third one. I'm basically the illustrator, the writer of my project, and I do the lettering too. It's maybe. It just feels like I can, I want to do it all, not because I think I can, but first of all, I practice to be able to have each time a more decent image. But, to gather a team and then to try to communicate across the internet and try to make the project work, it's not the most easy thing in the world, especially if you have to pay the other people, and there is already struggles of different kind when about yourself already. So but I wanted to handle this because I love creating stories. I love talking and writing stories, and drawing. So the comics brings everything together. It's a beautiful craft, and so that's why I guess I do everything here. So the series is called Stilk Metal Tim. It takes place in the end of the 21st century in a city called New Glory. And there we have a young scientist, Annabelle Darcel, who for some reason decides, along with her younger partner, boy genius Edwin Best, to combine science and occult practices. And the result is the manifestation of a humanoid creature, which for some reason she calls him Stilk. And later on, a few months after they get to know each other, there is another sudden manifestation that takes place, that a horde of demonic-like creatures emerge physically through her chest, and they kill her instantly. And so the first book starts 1 year later, after those events, with Stilk having partnered up with a guy who is a cyborg. His name is Timothy Vince, but his nickname is Metal Tim because of his cyber implants. And they both try, under the leadership of Edwin's, the boy genius I mentioned earlier, Edwin's father, Daryl Best, to fight these creatures. That's the basic introduction. But as you go deep through the story, you see many levels, emerging each time, unfolding each time. You have mysteries, plot twists, allies, unexpected turns in the story, and of course, villains. It has superhero action. It has supernatural, even spiritual elements, because I have read, I have many interests in life. One of them is religions, philosophies, and all of this type of things that writers like Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman were some of my interest in the comic book scene. So all the various influences I have and the things I have learned throughout time, I try to show through this project, which, by the way, is part of a universe that I create. So this is like the first title, and if everything goes well, 6 more will follow, and it will end there. This universe.
That's cool. Wow, yeah. You have a lot going on. Yeah, we have, without trying to talk about it all, we have our main story, which is the Seer Chronicles, and then that's like the main whole story, and that was a graphic novel, and then I split it into like multiple stories. So the first story arc is 12 issues, and then
yeah, I know from your website. You said,
and then the second one is going to be shorter than that, and then the third one is even shorter, just because that's just how it's going to be. And the sixth story, I decided that that's going to be like a graphic novel of itself. So there's already like the first couple issues that are already like super long. Like our first issue that's being remastered is 46 pages.
Yeah. It's wow.
Yeah.
For American standards, that's a lot, but I like.
Yeah. I said that to my artist yesterday. I was like, I know it's a lot of work. He's like, yep. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like that one and the second one is 30 pages. So those two are long, and then the third issue is going to get edited still, but that's right now like 30 something pages. And then the fourth and fifth issues are probably the shortest so far. And then it goes back into the sixth, which is like, I forgot how many pages that is. It's like 100 pages or some insane amount. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be a while.
Yeah, but it seems it's worth it, because I see already the covers of your books, and the one that has stayed more in my memory is like the first issue of Seer Chronicles, because it's awesome. It has some kind of cool 90s vibe, and if I remember well, it's a firefighter who gains superpowers through some kind of lab accident. Yeah, that's amazing. It reminds me some cool titles of, in the late 90s, especially from Image and Event Comics. I don't know if you know this publisher, Event. It was Joe Quesada's one.
Oh, no.
No.
I was trying to think of something that was like, first I was just trying to make a story because I was like bored one day. That's like in our blog somewhere on our website.
Yeah.
I was like just bored one day, like watching this show that's always has reruns. And I just like opened my laptop and I just started writing, and then it was going to be a story. It wasn't going to be a comic book. And then I like kept writing, and I was like, wow, this is like superhero. Like this could be a comic book. So I made that into a comic book, graphic novel, after my grandma's like, wow, you got like 1,200 pages? I was like, yeah, I don't sleep. And she's like, oh, wow, that's a graphic novel. I was like, oh, shit, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Well, I'm sorry it will continue, doing great. It looks fantastic so far from what I have seen, because I like searching about indie creators out there, especially people who give other creators like myself an opportunity to speak about their work. So I have done a little more study on you. Yeah. And I see very awesome stuff, and it's important things, to create, to inspire, to put our stuff out there. I think indie comics, this is the time for them to shine more than before.
Yeah, we've talked about it on our other podcast, Breakfast Talk, and like there's like an actual episode called Age of Indie.
Yeah.
Just because we think that's like what's happening now. It's like just the mainstream stuff is kind of like, it's just like retold stories over and over again. And I think that's why I only have indie comics. I have, besides I have like one Spider-Man arc that's somewhere in my apartment, but like that's it. Like indie comics are definitely taking over, I think. Just like what Greg said right there. I just think they're like way more original. Like you've seen Spider-Man like over and over and over again. I love Spider-Man, but like you've seen it over and over and over again. Same with Batman. We just talked about in the last broadcast live stream that we just did was like origin stories and like how you don't really need them. some people will probably think different, but indie comics, like, yes, you're like indie and like your idea might be kind of new and people are like, oh, I want to see the origin. Yeah, well, you'll have to wait.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you build it up. It's let's have some mystery. Come on, we don't have to give everything from the first time. Away. You know?
Yeah, like if I didn't know, like I didn't know it was a rule or anything. I just was like, oh, well, I'm gonna tell like the origin of the firefighter dude. That's I think people want to know that, but I guess like coming in from a different angle, like people probably wouldn't care if they didn't see that in the beginning. Like you read it, so like that's up to like, would you have rather see him die and then be reborn, or would you just rather see him like start fighting or doing something else and then going back to it later? Yeah,
exactly. And I think, I mean, it is a challenge for the mainstream publishers, you know, I always wonder, like, for how long you can keep going on with the same characters, for how many years, you know, and how you have to be all the time as original as you can be to try all the possible combinations of things.
Yeah.
And that's a huge challenge. But, you know, I mean, because it has lasted for so long, people grow up with these characters and they love them. So I guess that's the main factor why these things keep going on. But the thing is how you handle it in the meantime as time goes on. Do you make it better or worse or mediocre? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like indie comics could be like what people actually grow up with now. So like maybe if I have a kid one day and they're like, what's Spider-Man? Shh, you're gonna read this instead. You're gonna read the Seer Chronicles instead. Oh, okay. What's that? Exactly. Oh, it's a swear word. Don't mind that.
It's a pity though, because you know, movies, action figures, all the merchandise. It has its own history. So I don't think it can just go away like that. And I just hope it can be better.
Yeah.
You know, because we have examples that things could have been handled better, but they didn't, and that shows in sales. And then, you know, let's not go to what happens on Twitter. You know, that's another. Yeah, I'm sorry, but since we talk about indie comics and indie publishers, can I say a few things about the publisher that hosts my book?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, but before I go to that, I say I want to talk how I started submitting my work, because, you know, guess what? I'm not in America, where basically I think the whole thing emerged from. America for me is like the land of comics. I don't know how accurate is that, but that's how it is in my mind for the most part. And in Greece, where I come from, we have also some comic books into, but it's not like maybe as much appreciated as in our neighbor countries, France and Italy and Spain, for example. But we try our best, and we have many talented people there. So I started using the internet, you know, and to submit to a number of English-speaking publishers, America, England, Ireland, I don't know, like Scotland, whatever. And it took me pretty much a year to get a positive response, because in the meantime, for the most part, I wouldn't get any response. Other times I would get some very good feedback with advices and useful information. And some of them were kind enough to write me a long letter with many paragraphs. It's like, man, at least they tried. Yeah, they didn't ignore me here. So the publisher is Rising Sun Comics. It is based in Los Angeles. They started in 2008 from a guy called Jamar Miller, and you know, he had this passion project called Millerverse, and he would have all the non-licensed Hasbro properties in it, G.I. Joe, Action Man, and the like. And so around 2012, he pursued other interests and passed the mantle to the editor I'm talking with, Hawk Sanders, who has his own IP, Armadillo Justice. Like, if you like Ninja Turtles, this is that type of title, really cool one. And so this company has 5 imprints. All right, the one is Rising Sun non-profit, where they have these non-licensed properties coming forth. They don't make any profit from it, but whatever money they take is if people order the printed versions, and the money are used for the cover of expenses, and whatever is left goes to the artist. But it's mostly volunteer work because you love to do this projects. The second imprint is Rising Sun Comics US, PG-13 titles, where my editor's book is there too. The other one where my book is Rising Sun Published Studios. You can see the logo here. And then is the New Zealand imprint Oceania in collaboration with Plant Studios, and I work in 3 books right now with them. I am the illustrator there. The one is a comical political strip. The other 2 are interconnected as supernatural horror stories. So you will see much coming from my hand through these books. And then the last imprint is inactive, but it is called Rising Sun Japan. It is meant for manga stories.
Oh, that's cool.
And basically the last 8 years they are an actual publisher, and they have many great titles, lots of cool talent, I think as time goes by they become even more known, and they become even greater. They take little by little their own place in the indie scene, and I wish them the best. They gave me this opportunity, and I have learned a lot through them. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, we're actually slowly publishing other people's stuff. Like, you can add your stuff to our website after like meeting with us and stuff, like just a Zoom chat or whatever. And then we just get to know the person, and if they're like interested, that we have like a form, and then they fill it out.
Yeah.
And then right now I have to upload the comics on there just because that's the only way we can do it right now. It's not like Comixology, like you can upload your own comic. But what I say multiple times is we actually care about you, unlike Comixology. So like if that's a jab to them, I really don't care. We actually promote the stuff for free. You could, we're actually starting to do like Facebook ads, like starting next year. So if people have like a trailer or something, which some people already do, which I'm going to be showing throughout this event, they actually have comics that are already on there, or they're actually coming. There's actually one that's I'm going to show at some point, and he has a manga comic that's actually he wants us to publish, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna show that, and that's the first time he's ever like made a trailer too. And I was like, oh, and it looks pretty awesome for like first trailer ever. I'm not like the best at video editing right now, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So he said, I forget how long his story is, but like it's gonna go for a while, and the art looks amazing, and so it's that guy, and then there's actually another guy that's also wants us to publish him, and he's also manga. So I was like, okay, I guess we're gonna publish manga. And then we have our own stuff, obviously, like Ink and whatever else.
Oh yeah.
Have you read Ink?
Not yet, but no. I know that the protagonist, after he receives it, he has supernatural experiences.
Yeah. We might. We're not going to remaster the first issue. If like Adam, the artist, is watching this, I don't want him to like get worried. We're not going to remaster it. I think it's just like a little editing of like lettering, because there's like the word Japan is in there, but like our universe, our world isn't Earth. It's a different planet.
Okay.
So we don't have a Japan. We have a thing like Japan, and like there's a thing like Greece, and there's a thing like Paris and whatever else.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, the original. That's like a thing, like a fun fact. For Scales, the comic that's coming out now next year, the original location for their vacation was actually Greece. So yeah, but I don't know why I picked Greece of all places. I never went there, but I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. So they originally were going to go to Greece, but now it's like some other place. I don't even think they really mention it, but it's like Greece. So yeah, you know that, and like the 14 other people that are watching know that.
I mean, I see even more creators, even current projects that they get out and they are inspired from ancient Greek history or mythology. So I guess Greece is a real good inspiration source for stories. I
always like the mythology type stuff too, in like school, like the Odyssey and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. We like later down the road, we have a comic that's it's kind of mythology, but not really. There's like these 3 heroes, and they're like the original superheroes, but like hopefully nobody takes that idea. Well, if they do, then I guess it's a good enough idea. And that's like what kind of starts everything in our whole universe. It starts back in like the 1500s or something. And I actually just made a timeline for all of that like a week or 2 ago at work, because I don't do anything at work. I just watch YouTube. So I just did that and write. So yeah.
So basically, you build your own Marvel Cinematic Universe with a whole complicated storyline. Like
so I had to figure out when I was making the timeline. It actually helps because I was like, so when am I going to put this story? And then like the original thought that I had when I was like starting to release comics is like, oh, this artist has to only work for me. But like, no, they're like busy doing like 7 other things. Because I was like, oh, well, this story has to come out at this year, but not really, because like the timeline of the comic could just be that year. It doesn't have to be the exact year that's in like reality. But that's what I thought when I first was starting. I was like, oh, this story starts in 2021, so that means it has to be released that year. Like, oh, I don't have $1 million. I can't do all of
that. But remind me, because I didn't mention this for the Rising Sun either. Like, do you publish the books only printed form, or also as in electronic versions, like CBR?
So I was trying to have a subscriber count on here to try to count how many subscribers we like get, if we get any, on our website while we're doing this. We have 91, and I'm trying to at least get to 100 by the end of the year, if that's possible.
Oh, it is.
And if we get to 100, we're unlocking the enhanced subscription, so like the page subscription, if people want to pay for it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing right now extra on there that's like you have to pay for. The comics are free, the music that you can listen to on there is free, and our podcasts are free. But the paid subscription next year is actually going to be like a couple of cool things that we're going to be talking about later, like tomorrow. Yeah, that's when we get interviewed by the person. So it's going to be kind of like Patreon-esque, but just on our website. We're not going to use Patreon because we don't want to take a percentage away from us. And we're also going to we're trying it out for us first to see if it works. And the other people on that platform that's a creator can also use that. So I think that's pretty cool. We're building that part out in December. Dylan and I, and I think one other guy, but we're not going to release it until next year. Next year is all the platform and our video game, because our video game is also connected with our comics.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Man, sounds awesome. I hope everything will come to be as you wanted. And so, well, the guys, the publishing house there, they have partnership with Amazon, Drive Through Comics, Indie Planet, Comixology, and so our books are all available also in as ebooks. But you can also, or people can also order directly from their publisher's website if they want. Yeah. But that's how they play the game there. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you too. Like,
I forgot to even mention I was trying to answer your question, and I completely just started talking about it.
but the question I had is how challenging it is to be the head of an indie publishing company these days. I'm asking you because I think that's pretty much what you do, right?
Yeah. So we host the comics digitally on our website, and obviously they're free to read, but I would like everybody to read each comic on there like fully, because that gives like profit to the people, but like to each creator that's on there. But not until we get our like subscription open. So like when we make money on that, that's how they make their money. That's how it works. Because like I was actually paying out of my own paycheck the beginning of this year and last year, yes. And then I was like, well, I can't really afford that because I'm trying to pay like my artists to, you know, make my comics out of my paycheck. So like that's just taking more money away from me. So Dylan's like, yeah, just stop paying out of your own paycheck to the people and just wait for us to get subscriptions. So I was like, oh, okay.